What's up, guys? It's just me and Joey here. We're doing sort of a spin-off episode, something a little different. Sage is here, but we just figured this would be kind of fun.
We all came to the mutual agreement.
Yeah, we were just hanging out, and then we were like, we should just record an episode, because why not? Joey, how do you... What's your opinion on depression?
Just straight into it, huh?
What's your stance on it?
The way that I tend to view it is, at least in my mind, is getting to a certain point, and there's just this fucking brick wall in front of you, and you know deep down that on the other side of that fucking wall is a nice, clear fucking path, but you got to break that wall down in order to get there. And taking it down, some people can bust right through that. They know how to push through. And other people, they have to take it brick by brick. And some people never get past it. With me, I am the brick by brick person. So I might get into a episode and I retract, socially at least, because I don't want to be that guy that's like you guys were talking about on the last episode, be that guy that's there and just kind of bringing the mood down for everybody. So then I don't want to ever make anybody feel like that. So for me, I have to figure my shit out first before I can actually show up and be present in the moment. And it may seem like an avoidance tactic, and that's because that it is.
Right.
It 100% is, but that's just the way that I've always dealt with it.
Well, are you like... Do you have depression, or do you just get depressed?
I feel like everybody inherently has depression at one point. Some more than others. Some
right.
Severely more than others. I've dealt with it inside my own family. I mean, my sister, the stuff that she's been through, and seeing the bipolar, the BPD side of things, and multi-personality disorder. I've never lived that specifically, but from seeing it from an outside perspective, I know that it's not just, that there's something wrong 100%, that this is not just like pull yourself up by your fucking bootstraps type of deal. There's something going on up there.
Right.
Even though that I've never lived that, I do get bouts of depression, I guess, or down moments. But,
right. Okay.
And it can come in it can be over dumb shit, you know what I mean? It could be over work. I could have one bad day and it's like, oh my God, I fucked this up, or I did that. And then, it could be over something super simple like that. And sometimes for me, when heavier stuff hits, I don't know why. And maybe it's because I've dealt with it inside the family. It's easier for me to navigate through the heavier stuff. But when I feel like I'm not doing my best, I have to take a pause and step back from my social life, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it comes in waves for me. It's not always on the same timeline. I could have a really good year, or I could have a really good couple of months. I could have a really bad couple of months, and I can have a really bad year. It just depends on what's going on. Every day is different.
Yeah.
It always changes. Some days you can be super down, and I've had those days, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, what the fuck was I worried about? And sometimes you get over it, but sometimes you don't. It lingers.
Right. You just continue on with your day, and you're just like, I'm sad today, and that's just how it's gonna be. But I'm gonna keep doing the same things that I was planning on doing. I'm just gonna be sad while doing it.
Right.
Kind of thing. Yeah, that's I don't know. I've been diagnosed with depression, but I don't get depressed often, at all. I'm generally a very positive person, and I feel good most of the time. And Amanda, on the other hand, she suffers from a very severe depression. I mean, it just comes and goes, and hers is an actual real thing where just out of nowhere, for no reason whatsoever, she's just depressed, and it's really hard to get her out of that. And I like when she is having these episodes or she is feeling that way, like I have no idea what to do about it. I mean, in reality, there's really nothing I can do about it. She just has to be sad and feel that, and then when she's done, then that's all her, because I can't really do anything to assist that other than maybe like do something with her, spend time with her, whatever. But then we're still doing that thing. She's just sad while we're doing it, But even though that I've been diagnosed with it, I don't feel it very often. Like I don't get sad about a lot of things. I don't really care about a lot of things. Like I don't take life super seriously, and I believe strongly that there's like a lot of situations that you encounter day to day. It's the most important thing is like how you consciously react to those situations, and how like sometimes you don't need to let things bother you so much, and sometimes you don't have a choice. Like sometimes things just bother you, and it seems like there's really nothing you can do about it. But I'm talking like, somebody cuts you off in traffic or something, or pisses you off while you're driving somewhere, and then you actively choose to like let that anger you, and you react to it, and then
you're like, fuck you, I'm gonna cut you off now.
yeah, and then for the rest of the day you're like, oh fuck this guy, like.
But you have your checks and balances.
Yeah,
you've been diagnosed, you've done the work to address it. I feel like most people don't do that, including myself.
Yeah,
I've never gone to a therapist. I've never checked up on that aspect of my life. I just have always dealt with it internally. And it always doesn't work for everybody. Therapy may not work for one person, and they may know how to deal with it on their own, and then vice versa. It just depends on the person.
Yeah.
It really varies from person to person. But if you find that fucking yin and yang of balance of like how to deal with it, if that involves therapy, or if that involves some coping mechanism that you have that's healthy and productive and whatever it is, then I feel like definitely use that, keep that tool in the back of your mind, and just keep pushing through it. But if you really, really need the help, like you said, when you're at your dead fucking end, you need to go seek a professional, or you need somebody that's really strong-willed that can help you get through that without just the basic shit like you were saying last time of like, it's gonna get better, or just the basic responses.
Yeah. See, I feel like for me, I can, for the most part, I can sort of choose my own destiny, if you could say. Like,
you have your own avenues.
Yeah, well, so it's kind of weird, but I think on like the first or second episode I did on this podcast, I talked a little bit about my past and my upbringing and how sort of like dodgy it was. But when I was in high school, I had really bad anger issues. Like I would go from 0 to like blackout angry in like a split second. And I spent maybe like a solid year of high school just crying like every day at school because I was just sad.
So you get mood swings like that.
Yeah, and then one day I was just like in class and I was like looking around and like how my emotions were affecting the people around me. And then I just sort of decided like, I'm just not going to do this anymore. Like I'm not going to let myself feel this way anymore. And from that point on, I really haven't. Like I don't express my anger. I don't have those anger issues anymore. I am pretty much for the most part just like positive, happy. I look at the like bright side of things. I'm more optimistic than pessimistic about most things.
But you have to consciously make that choice to do that.
Yeah. Like something happens to me and then I have like 5 seconds to be like, do I really care about this thing? And then I'm like, nah, probably not. And
but
then
you find the silver lining. You try to find the silver lining.
yeah. And I fully understand that, like, not everybody can do that, or not everybody knows they can do that, or not everyone has, even
Attempted.
yeah, even attempted to do that.
And that's the thing, whether we know it or not consciously, like with our generation, because how old are you now?
29.
Okay, so I'm 30, so same, millennial, whatever. We were at that generation where it was like when you were growing up, if you were a man and you showed any emotion besides anger, it was taken as weakness.
Right.
You were a weak person, unless it was anger. That was the only emotion that was acceptable as a man in the, 90s and early 2000s. Like, you're there to provide. You're there to... Boys don't cry. You know what I mean?
Right.
That whole thing.
Yeah.
Can I chime in? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know who can hear me or what. But, one of the things I recently was privy to was when a man shows anger, that means that you still get your point across and you still get the respect from it.
True.
That's our version of crying.
It is.
How true that is psychologically, zero idea. But I thought that I would share that.
But we were taught any emotion past that was seen as a weakness.
Right.
In any situation.
Right.
If you lost your head about, I got a fucking flat tire, I'm going to be late to work, I'm pissed. Instead of, let me put aside my anger real quick and figure out the best solution on how to get this taken care of. Whether that be, do I have a spare? No. Got to call a towing company. Do I have, my lug nut lock is, I don't have it. It's not in my car. I'm going to have to find a tow. Instead of like, fuck, shit, god damn it, like in your car for about 20 fucking minutes until you finally call somebody for the help. And that's the hardest part to do, is to actually, even if you know that you're the one going to be paying for it indirectly by somebody you don't even know, like you're paying for a service, you're still like, they come out like, and then you're thinking in your head, oh, this guy probably thinks I'm a jackass because I don't have the proper equipment to take care of my own shit and like fix it myself. I had to call somebody else to do it as a man.
Right.
And that's how we were taught. That's how I was brought up.
Right. Yeah. See, like, for me, in a lot of situations, I say, is there anything I can do about it right now? Like, is this something that is within or out of my control? And if there is something I can do about it and it is in my control, then do that thing. And if not, then there's nothing you can do about it. So why let it bother you?
And sometimes it takes years, and sometimes it takes decades for certain people to figure that avenue out.
Right.
Because they're so used to doing the one thing, the one specific emotional response.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so bizarre. Like, I'm the kind of person who, like, if I need to cry, I'll just cry. I don't care where I am, who I'm with, in what situation. Like, everybody cries. I'm just expressing an emotion. That's how I'm feeling. It's one of those uncontrollable things, like laughter. Mm-hmm. You cry. It's a thing that happens. And, I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't think anything. I just think that that's just what people do. And if I feel like doing it, then
I still struggle
I'm going to do it.
I struggle with doing that, letting that emotion come out, like that specific emotion. Like there's certain media that I watch, like movies and stuff like that will strike a nerve.
Dude, Disney movies are the fucking worst.
Oh, dude, Up was difficult.
So many of them, the
first 5 minutes of Up, dude, I was in the theater and I was like, but my first response was, don't fucking cry. Stop being a bitch.
That's crazy.
Like, don't. But this was years ago.
Right.
But that was my response, was stop. No. Go away. Go away. No. We're not doing this right now. That was my genuine response at that time. But I could feel it coming up. You know when you could fucking feel it?
Right.
It's like when you have a sore throat and you're like, oh man, I think I'm getting sick. Like, it's coming. It's the same exact type of thing. But when you're sick, you know what's like, you get those feelings and you're like, you get a sign and you're like, oh, it's coming. This is what it is. I'm just going to have to power through it. But when it comes to an emotional response like that, especially if it's anything besides anger or sternness or whatever, you try to stifle that immediately. At least I did.
Right. Well, and see that the only thing that I do that with now is the anger. Like, it's still there. I just don't release it. I just don't express it. I play this scenario through in my head. I do all of the violent things I want to be doing. And then as I'm doing that, I realize that all of the things that I would like to be doing right now are so blown out of proportion and are so unnecessary for the thing that just happened to me.
It's not even a necessary
that it's
response.
not worth it. No, because I used to be very violent as a teenager. Like someone would trigger me and then I would just hurt them. And then I would, after I did it, I would feel so sad about it because I'm like, holy shit. Like, I just beat the shit out of this person for like saying something to me. And how that's just so not appropriate and that's just so not fair. And like, what am I really accomplishing by it? Like, you said something to me, I beat your ass, and now what? I'm the bigger person.
Yeah, and that's
I'm better.
That's the whole sticks and stones may break my bones, saying that we had back in the day too. But at the same time, if you're, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. If you don't react with anger, you're a pussy. That's how it was thought of.
Right.
Like, so it's like, okay, you're telling me to be civil, but at the same time, no emotion. And to have both, you have to have, or to be both, they coincide and they intersect at many points in your life.
Right.
And if you just react with one certain emotion, you're never going to really accomplish anything or get a common ground in anything.
Yeah.
Any conversation, any dispute, whatever it may be, there's going to be no, what's that word? Starts with a C. Fuck. I can't think of it right now. Compromise. There's going to be no compromise. You're not going to learn how to compromise in certain situations.
Right.
In the benefit of everybody in the party.
Yeah. Yeah, I part of me as a whole, I'm impulsive. I say things as they come up. I make a split decision where it's like if the thought pops up in my head, like, do I say this or not? I give myself like 3 seconds, and then if I don't say it, then I don't say it. Like, if I don't say it within that time period,
it's not gonna
then
happen.
it just doesn't happen.
And you're running through like 18 scenarios on responses in your fucking head at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, how can this conversation go?
And so when I used to get triggered, I would just unleash. And if it wasn't physical, it was just verbal, but sometimes it was appropriate. Like, when somebody talks down to me, which is like one of my only pet peeves, is when people talk down to me or treat me like I'm less of a person than them, or like tell me to do things.
And anger is not always a inappropriate reaction to something.
Right,
but
exactly.
It's just balancing out, finding when it is appropriate, and not overusing one emotion.
Yeah. But when I'm pissed and I feel like hurting you, I'm not going to. Or even if I know that I know that I have the ability to destroy somebody emotionally with my words.
Self-control not to.
Yeah. And now I have the control to where I just don't let it out of my body, because from what happened to me, the situation, they don't deserve that. And I know that, and it's not going to benefit anything, right? Sometimes it is deserved, or in my mind, it's deserved. Where, like, if you say something to me, okay, well, like, now it's my turn, so get ready. But I just really, I keep it in, and then I replay this stuff over and over again, and then I get over it, right? Because I already did it inside of my head, the chaos, the violence, the whatever. And I was talking to my therapist about that one time, because she was like, she couldn't understand how somebody can hold that stuff in, like, not release it, because anger is one of those things where, like, you just kind of, when you get angry, you just let it out. I mean, people just do that. And
it's a boiling emotion.
Yeah. And so I was telling her like the same thing, and she said that I shouldn't do that, but I should instead let it out slowly and just like basically control the level that I let out the anger. Instead of not expressing it at all, I should just let it out in small doses, because she said one day all that built up stuff is you're just gonna break, like you're gonna snap.
It's how people snap. Yeah, it's a bottling tactic.
And I was like, well, I've been doing this for probably about 15 years now, and I can't just let out a little. That's not how I operate. It's either none or all. Like in my head, it's either you get all of it or you get none of it.
There's no in between.
Yeah, so normally when I'm put in a situation where I'm fucking heated, I just avoid the situation, because I'm like, I'm not going to talk, I'm not going to act, I'm going to remove myself from the situation, because I don't know how to resolve this without being an asshole.
And that's the thing about anger is, in my opinion, it's the hardest one to deal with, because it's an amalgamation of all your other emotions into one fucking ball. You can be angry at somebody that you love. You know what I mean? There's love in there, but you're fucking pissed. You're heated, right, for whatever reason it could be, but you still love that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be a deflection tactic because you're anxious about something, and you're trying to redirect by using anger.
Yeah.
So all those emotions intertwine, and in my opinion, I think anger is a conglomeration of many different emotions, depending on the situation.
Right.
It's not just I'm mad. It's like, oh, I'm sad about this, I'm anxious about that, and it just kind of builds and builds and builds. People fucking snap. You know, you see it all the time. People fucking shoot up schools.
Yeah.
People are fucking pissed. They can't accept themselves. They're antisocial. Just all kinds of things. And that anger builds. It's out of anxiety. It's out of being an outcast. It could be a number of things.
Or just a form of like psychosis.
Yeah.
You know, most of the people who go on murdering sprees or like serial killers and stuff, like,
yeah, some of those people are genuinely fucking psychotic.
Right.
But most of those people like that, like, I'm not talking about the Jeffrey Dahmers or anything. I'm talking about these people that just all of a one day they just fucking snap. I listened to this podcast about this guy that was a construction worker. He fucking snapped one day. He loved his wife. He was providing for his wife and his kids. His wife was cheating on him, and his construction buddies knew about it, and they always gave him shit, because that's what you do in that fucking blue collar world. You just, if you can find somebody's pet peeve and you know how to get a reaction out of it. I've seen it. Right. I've seen people do it all the time. You get a reaction out of somebody said the wrong fucking thing, and then all of a sudden there was a hammer in the back of that dude's head, and the guy sat down on the, this was a real thing. I don't remember where and when, but this dude snapped on a job because this guy kept fucking hitting deeper and deeper and deeper into those tapped emotions, and he had love for this chick, even though she was cheating on him. You know, that's the wife of his children. He just fucking snapped, and all that anger was let out off of a few sentences, and he killed somebody. He took somebody's life, ruined his life. Now his child is growing up without a fucking father, and his wife is moving on, and he's in prison for the rest of his life because of, he just snapped, and he couldn't deal with the turmoil of the situation. And then when people are fucking in your ear like that, people just fucking snap. But yeah, some people are genuinely psychotic, and some people relish in the anger.
Yeah. I that's sort of why I've focused so hard early on to get control over this anger issue that I had, because I don't know, saw. So I've never met my dad, but from what I've heard, he's like an abusive, alcoholic piece of shit, and I think that I just naturally got that from him, but also just my upbringing. Your upbringing is so important into like what you become later on, and my upbringing was filled with physical and verbal arguments, yelling. Every person that my mom dated was just either physically or verbally abusive. And as a kid, you're seeing this. And then so when something happens to you, like you get yelled at by somebody, you yell back, or you think that that's what you're supposed to do. Or you're like, you pissed me off, now I'm going to hurt you. And I had that.
Eye for an eye.
Like, I had that constantly growing up with my mom. She was with different people, and they were all the exact same type of person. And so I think that all of that is what contributed to my violent outbreaks when I was younger. But I don't know how or why. I just, one day I was like, I can't do this. Like, I just don't like it. I don't like that this happens to me. And there has to be something you can do about it. And for me, as weird as it sounds, I just decided that I no longer wanted to do that. And then I haven't since. Like, I just decided, like, this isn't the person I want to be. So I'm not going to be.
And you actively chose that.
And then path. I just stuck with it.
You actively chose that path to get off of it. Because you knew it was becoming a fucking cycle of anger and fucking just flipping a switch like that over probably the smallest shit too.
Super small stuff.
Any inconvenience. Some people can just fucking lose their shit. Doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
And I get that. My father, I don't think I've ever talked to you about my father before, have I? My biological father?
Not a whole lot.
So my biological father, he was first generation Mexican in the United States. So he was born in the United States. I'm second. And he was with my mom. My mom was really young. And she told me, I loved your father. Like, we were in love. And then he found out that she got pregnant with me in 93. And then the way that he dealt with the situation was heroin. It was an like immediate response to disassociate.
It's a good choice.
Yeah. So it just, and he was a very angry person. He's not anymore. Not that I know of anymore. He's clean now. He's in a passive transient mode in his life. We're not really connected, but we do talk from time to time. But from what I remember, he could flip a switch like that. He found out one of his sisters was dating one of his friends in school. She showed up one day to pick something up or do something. As soon as he saw her face, like he had found out that day, as soon as he saw her face, decked her, knocked her out on the front fucking porch, went to prison. His own sister. Just immediate anger response at anything. And that cycle continues generationally until it's fucking broken, until you can actually break it and like raise your own and show them, hey, this is, and I don't have any kids myself, so I can't speak for it, but I got through my anger issues in my own way because I do get angry. All of us do. It's a natural human response. Right. And it is, I believe it's a necessary one, but it's not necessary in every fucking situation that you find yourself in. Or in excess. In excess. You have to learn when it's appropriate because sometimes it is a fucking appropriate. Right. 100%. There are some crazy fucks out there and you have to be vigilant, but at the same time, you can't be so closed off and be an asshole to everybody around you because you don't want to take the chance to possibly get hurt mentally. Right. You don't want to get pushed around, but you don't want to be a dick. Yeah, exactly. And finding that sweet spot is difficult. It's hard. But and it takes years to find out how to do that. It's just and it varies from person to person.
Yeah.
Everybody's emotional response is completely different. Some people are naturally born with that will to just navigate through their emotions like fucking water, and some people are like a fucking brick stone falling in water. It's just, how are you going to chisel yourself to get out of that, or how are you going to bring yourself back up or to a certain place that you need to be? And whether that's through, like I said earlier, therapy or coping mechanisms and things that you learn about yourself, and things that you can do that apply to your emotions and how to navigate through that, fucking use it. If it's healthy,
Right.
do it. There's certain outlets that are healthy, and there's other outlets that work that are not so healthy. It just depends on what you choose to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess, referencing high school isn't a very great thing.
Well, no, I disagree, because I think that is a very pivotal point in everybody's life, whether they're male or female.
Right.
I can only tell you through the male experience. I don't know how it was for females in high school, but it wasn't you knew the difference once you stepped on campus as a freshman, as composed when you were in 8th grade. In middle school, junior high, it was like, oh, I'm still a kid. Then you get to high school and it's like, holy shit, this is it. I got 4 years left, and then I'm a fucking adult. And it's like, you need to figure out what you want to do now. You get hit with all these brand new things.
Oh, like figure out like who you are.
Yeah, and then and then you have things that develop like your sexuality. You have things that develop like your work ethic. Some people get jobs in high school, some people don't. So everything in high school is kind of a new platform for people to learn about themselves. And everybody's doing that at the same time at their own pace. It's really hard to figure out who are the right people to be around during that time, because you're in such a malleable fucking form as a teenager. You're hitting fucking puberty. You got to find a job. You're learning how to drive. You're learning more real world skills, even though you may not realize it. You're learning how to network with people.
Right.
I've gotten people that were in high school jobs, or just stuff like that you would have never thought about in your previous years in school, in primary school or whatever it may be.
Well, like during the time, I mean, you don't really know any of this.
No, you don't think about it. It's happening to you. You just don't. Most people don't see it.
Yeah.
Some people do. Some people are like set on valedictorian status. Like, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
Like, I'm going here and this is my plan. Other people, myself included, I have no fucking idea what I was doing. I was going through the motions. My mom and my stepfather got a divorce when I was in 8th grade, so I stepped into freshman year going through a divorce, our family, and navigating through that, as well as building relationships in school, and where the grades really mattered to get into college. And it was difficult.
I'm gonna go left field here.
You're good.
When your dad in 8th grade, that's your dad.
My stepfather.
Your stepfather is the one.
That's my sister's father. Yeah.
When did your mom and your dad split?
My mom and my real father?
Yeah.
Before I was even born.
Before you were born?
Yeah. He was in prison before I was even... There's a picture, his first picture. So he had me... his first picture with me was in prison. She brought me to prison.
Wow.
And I was born while he was in prison for domestic abuse.
Right.
But there is a picture of him in his fucking orange jumpsuit in the LA County fucking penitentiary, and he's holding me as a baby. I'm like not even 1 year old yet. And that was the first picture that we ever had as father and son. Yeah.
Wow. Do you have a relationship with him now?
Vaguely. Like, well, I wouldn't... Vague is not a... It is vague. It's distant.
Like not a relationship, but like, are you...
We're on terms. We're not on good or bad terms. I'd say it's more neutral.
Right.
At this point. We talk sometimes, but it's not constant. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 or 3 times every couple of months, if that. But when my stepfather stepped in military, he's the one that kind of got me back on track, because I didn't have a male figure in my life up until the year 2000. That's when my mom got with Alex, and they got married, I think, in 03 or 02, one or the other. But it was 02 because then my mom got pregnant and she had me and my sister are 10 years apart. My sister was born in 03, so they got married in 02 and then had my sister. And then, yeah. But he's the one that kind of stepped in and he did the best that he could.
What, how did the divorce affect you? Like, because I hear that a lot where people say that when their parents are going through divorce, or even like it just gets referenced, like the children themselves don't always say it, but like working with like the younger kids, we're like, why are you acting different? And then we hear that their parents are going through a divorce, and that's like what's affecting them. But for me, and you hear it so often that like my parents got divorced and like that's like a huge thing, and now it's like a part of my life and upbringing, and it was hard and all this stuff. And for me, like my dad was also out of the picture before my family tells me that he was around every so often when I was younger, but I don't believe that we ever met, and I don't remember. And then my mom got married several more times after that, but and they got divorced, but I never gave a fuck at all like about it.
So in my experience, I was 15 when they got divorced. So I was at that age where it was like you pick up on things. You're still a child, but you're at that age where it's kind of like you take notice of certain things. I remember clearly the day, like the early days when he stepped into our lives, me and my mom's, and then they got married, the whole 9 yards, and they were together. My mom's only been married once to him. She was not married to my father.
Oh.
No. They had me out of wedlock. But so he was the first male figure, strong figure that was in my life consistently. And that was at the age of about 10. No, actually earlier. About 8 or 9 to the age of 15. So in that chunk of time, as a preteen, is when I learned discipline from him, because he really did step in. But when they got divorced, it was during the financial crisis of 2008. And I didn't really know the whole story about all that, but he had also been deployed twice to Afghanistan, so this divorce was a little different. There was a lot of alcohol involved. There was a lot of depression involved due to his psyche and the way that the government handles mental illness at that time.
Right.
It was rarely spoken about. You think about how Vietnam vets were treated. It was like, fuck it, like, you're out now, like, go do whatever, we're done.
Right.
And they
Good
saw some horrific shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So at the time, as a kid, I didn't really understand that aspect of it. But as I got older, I was like, and then especially joining the Marine Corps, I was like, okay, I kind of get probably what the fuck he was going through, because then I saw it in other people as well, the same kind of tendencies and binging and all that type of stuff, because I did it too. So that did really affect me. And then especially it leading into the year that I was going into high school is right when they got divorced. So I clearly remember like that specific couple of years, like transitioning from junior high to high school and then having to figure out what the fuck I was going to do with my life. And now that my male role model was gone out of the picture and my mom was we're back to square one trying to figure out what the fuck we're doing and trying to in survival mode basically at this point. Those years in between were really stable, and then all of a sudden it wasn't again. But I was just at a different age in my life, so I really clearly remember that period in my life, and it did have a huge effect. I didn't give a fuck in 9th grade or 10th grade about school, D's and F's. It wasn't that I was drinking or smoking weed. I didn't touch anything. I was completely sober. I just really didn't give a shit about anything. I just showed up to school, went home, and fucking did whatever, and then same thing all over again the next day. and I got into that cycle for 2 years. And then it wasn't until junior high school I was a junior in high school that I was like, I'm not going to graduate. I'm going to have to get my GED. So then I really picked up, I had to get over that depression over the period of like those 2 to 3 years in order to pick myself up and make sure that I was going to be good, at least get my high school degree. You know what I mean? And I did. It took a lot of work to do that because I fucked myself over because of the situation that had happened prior. It was stable 1 minute, and then all of a sudden, it's just like everything just crumbled down.
But do you think that them divorcing was like directly the cause of that in your mind?
I think that it had a major part of it. Yeah.
You think so?
I think so. At the time that I was developing, going through puberty and then dealing with that emotional status, and there was a lot of fighting beforehand too. It wasn't a clean break.
Right.
It was like 2 to 3 years of like just constant fucking slamming doors and shit like that. And you know, I'm 14, 15. It's not like I'm fucking 3 or 4. I'm not a toddler at this point. My sister was at that point, but you see things a little more clearly at that age. If not the full picture, you see more of the picture.
Right.
Than you would as like 3, 4. Maybe you have a couple memories, if that.
Well, yeah, I just thought it was interesting because I was the same way in high school. I didn't really give a fuck about anything, and I didn't go to school half the time, and I got pretty much all Fs, and I just didn't really care to be there, and my mom didn't care about me being there, and I had that, what you went through in those couple years, that was my whole childhood. I mean, that was every year of my life basically. When I was with my mom, was the fighting, the abuse, the just toxic environment in general. And then when I was probably about a junior or senior in high school, I also came to a realization that like I'm not going to be graduating with my friends.
Yeah.
And like that kind of sucks.
And you feel the embarrassment and like the guilt and like, what am I doing?
Yeah, and then so I actually tried it. And I'm like, wow, I'm actually like really good at this.
Yeah.
Like, school is easy. And then so for my junior and senior year, I got like A's and B's and
That's
like
what
some
I did.
A pluses.
I did the same thing. I went to summer school between junior and senior year just to catch up on all this shit.
Yeah, I just went to a alternative school for like a super senior year. And then graduated in like 5 months or something from being there because it was all accelerated.
And honestly, it may not seem like it now because of all the things that you've been through since then, but that's a huge fucking like accomplishment to be able to acknowledge you yourself at that age. Not a lot of people do. It's like, I'm fucking up right now. I'm not going to graduate. This is embarrassing.
Yeah.
I need to fucking get my head in the game, basically. Right. And whether that was from influenced by outside sources or whether it was all internal, you fucking did it. And I knew people I had friends that didn't graduate, that were going through some of the similar experiences that I was going through, and they didn't fucking graduate. And then they're still in the same, I know high school friends that are in worse positions now than they were before.
Right.
And they just loathed in it. But you managed to fucking get over that hump. Even if you look back and it was like, oh, that was teenage shit. It's like, yeah, it was. But at that time, that was a pivotal moment in your life. Who knows? What if you didn't graduate? Where would you be now?
Right.
It's a huge moment. So I think that for a lot of people, high school in those years is a huge stepping stone in somebody's life. It's just one of those moments, like you're going through so much at once. Puberty, fucking learning how to build relationships, networking, all that stuff.
Well, yeah, and for a lot of people, they're under the impression that when you enter high school, like that's when your personality actually matters. And who you are as a person actually matters.
Because now you're networking. You're trying to build relationships in order to benefit you in the fucking real world once you step into it, which is in 4 years. 4 years goes by like that.
Right.
Dude, when I joined the Marine Corps when I was 19, I did a 4-year contract, and I'm like, oh, that's basically high school. And then once I got out of it, I was like, holy shit, that went by in like 5 minutes once I was out. And then I found myself in the same position when I got out of high school. Same exact position. I graduated high school. I didn't know what the fuck I wanted to do. I took a year, like, maybe I want to do this. Nope, that didn't work. Joined the military. 4 years go by again. I get out of the military and I'm like, fuck. Now what?
Now what? Yeah.
I was so focused on the graduation part. I was so focused on the getting out of the military part where I was like, that's it. I'm done. I've reached the goal. And then that's when you repeat yourself and you're like, oh, the point of this isn't to reach the goal. The point of it is to keep going, even surpass your goal. Like, once you get there, don't stop. Keep fucking adapting and keep going, no matter what comes into your life. And if you can get over that once, you definitely can get over it twice. That's why I think high school is probably one of the most pivotal fucking moments in anybody's life, in my opinion.
Right. It's also kind of bullshit, though.
What do you mean?
Don't you think? Like just the whole from kindergarten to senior year.
Yeah, but you're being primed in those years. You're being primed.
Yeah, but it's like bullshit, though.
Yeah, a lot of it is. A lot of it is.
Because it's like, it's sort of, it's like this forced thing that you have to be doing. And a lot of it, especially early on, is very important. You know, learning like English and math and history and all that stuff is very important.
It's not even that. It's priming you time management. It's priming you how to be on time. It's priming you how to build connections. It's priming you how to be social.
Right.
All that in order to survive in the real world. It's just real world light.
Right.
Diet real world. That's what school was. And you spend from ages fucking when is kindergarten? 3, 4?
5 to 6.
Even preschool, so yeah, even younger, right? So like I went to preschool, so I was probably like 3, 4, whatever, 5, kindergarten, and then first, second, all the bullshit. ABCs 1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Color in the lines. Stop fucking eating glue.
Right.
Like, you know, they're priming you to like not be an idiot.
Yeah. You know, it's very important, especially like early on, like before, you know, preschools and stuff, just like a daycare of some sort is very important for like childhood development.
You work with the kids now.
Mm-hmm.
You probably see it. A lot of the tendencies that they have, you could probably look at a kid and be like, I can kind of see where he's going.
Yeah.
And this is probably what, like, you can build something based on, you don't see that when you're a kid. You just see like, my favorite color is green.
Well, and you could also tell the behaviors of kids when you see someone who has been in the system from like 6 months to 4 or 5 years old, and then somebody who their first time ever in that environment is when they're like 4 or 5.
Right.
And just the way that they act and socialize with the other kids is, you can immediately tell like they've never been in this environment before.
It's the experience.
And it's so important to have your kids in an environment like that growing up so they can socialize with other kids, because at a certain point they develop very strong personalities early on.
And in order to survive in this world, you have to be somewhat sociable.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't survive alone off of credentials. Some people can, but you have to have the right charisma to fucking sell it, because there's 1,000 other people that have the same shit that you do. You know what I mean? It's how are you going to sell yourself? How are you going to navigate this person's personality and make it in line with yours to make them feel like that you need to be a part of whatever that they're doing or whatever job that they're offering. Because they're interviewing they probably interviewed 100 people this past 3-4 months. You know what I mean?
Right.
How are you going to sell yourself? And then when you land that job, you're like, cool, got it. Like, you know, you don't really think too much about it. You're like, I knew I could get that job. If you land it, if you know they're like, I can fucking land this job, and it's not based off of your credentials.
Oh yeah.
It's the way that you present yourself and your certifications, all that stuff.
Right.
So that social behavior in primary school and in high school, even it does matter to an extent. In my opinion.
No, that's actually a very good thought process on that, because I know that I would say maybe like before age 6, like for child development being in a social setting is very important.
Yes.
But I never put it into like throughout your whole childhood. That's really an important thing. Just because like they've been my main focus several times, and now having a kid, I'm like he's been in daycare since 6 months, and we're like, this is a really important thing for him. But it's very interesting because that's so true. Like, you know, so many people go to college and so many people graduate high school, and then you get this piece of paper that says you did this thing. And
it's like, yeah, so what?
So many people who have their degree can't land jobs
in the field that they want.
Right.
And then they end up taking some bullshit, and then they get this job that they hate just to sustain them paying off their fucking student loans or whatever debt they may have, because they're forced to, because they couldn't manage to sell themselves in that specific fucking mode. And that's hard to fucking do.
Right.
It's really hard to do. That's all charisma and social fucking interaction. Been up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How long are we in?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Damn, we're at 51 minutes already.
Yeah.
My bad.
You guys want to keep going? You're more than welcome to.
No,
It's
that's
up to
good.
you. It's up to you.
Just know about the time I wrap up.
Yeah, good. Well,
No, but that's interesting.
that's just the way that I see it.
Right.
I've had to sell my. I know it makes me sound like a fucking prostitute. Like, I've had to sell myself for like promotions in the military. Like, I passed all the physical exams. I passed the physical fitness test. I have my MCIs done. For people that don't know, MCIs, Marine Corps Institute, like, those are your certificates. Like, you need these to progress. So they have you take these classes. That's done. My physicality's done. What else do I need?
Right.
It's the fucking selling. Like, why do I deserve this? I have to sell that to you. Like,
Yeah.
you have to sell yourself. And it's like you said too, like, I wouldn't want to work in a gun shop as a fucking salesperson, but I know that I could do that if
Right.
it came down to it. I just want to work on the guns themselves. But if it came down to selling somebody, I know that I can in that specific field, because I have a lot of knowledge about it and I actually enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's just, how do you present it?
Yeah, I guess it's one of those things that I didn't really think about too much, because I've always been like a social butterfly, very easy to talk to anybody. And
How do you think all these fucking
from
cult
any
leaders get
walk of
people to
life.
fucking drink the Kool-Aid, dude? It's their charisma, bro. What's his name? Fucking Jonestown. He got 990 people to drink the cyanide. You have to be a fucking mastermind seller to do that type of shit. If you really think about like just
Yeah.
how he sold it
that's fair.
to get, and they were feeding it to their I know it's fucked up, but they were like, oh, my kid's gonna go to heaven if I drink this fucking Kool-Aid.
Right.
Insane.
It is insane.
But
Yeah.
he got him to do it. And then he also got people that were around him that said, if you don't do it, we're going to shoot you. And guess what? They pulled the fucking trigger on those that didn't. How the fuck did you do that? That's wild.
Yeah.
You must have had to fucking, I don't know, you sold, I don't know what you did, but you had the charisma.
It's also the people, right?
Yeah, and
Very
you can use
impressionable.
it. You can use it towards negativity, and you
people.
can use it towards positivity. It's just how you fucking present yourself, and those skills do come in handy.
Right.
It can be the switch where somebody's like, yeah, you know what? He may not have all the certificates, but I fucking like this guy.
Right.
And that has happened.
Yeah. No, it does. It does happen.
He may not have this that's required for the job, but I fucking feel like he'd be a good fit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can pull the trigger just on charisma alone, as long as you fucking know how to sell yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking wild.
Yeah. I've
Well,
definitely been in a lot of those situations. Yeah. Just like, you know, the confidence. You go into something
That's why
confidently.
they call them con men.
Yeah.
Confidence man.
No.
They're fucking, yeah, that's where the term come from.
No, it doesn't really.
Con man, confidence man. Catch me if you can.
But is that like a real thing?
That's
Like,
look that shit up. That's where that's where the term con man comes from. Confidence. Confidence.
wow.
Con man, confidence. Snake oil salesman, fucking confident. They're rolling town to town selling you fucking snake piss, and people are buying it, and it's not doing shit. Why are you being sold that? Why are people buying it still? It's because you're confident. It don't last forever. You can only run so far off of it.
Right.
You need the knowledge prior.
But then you just like move on to the next
Yeah.
one and then do it all over
See,
again.
fucking crypto scams, pyramid schemes, charisma, dude.
If I might make a recommendation, that's Slim showing up right now.
Oh, okay. All right, we can cut it.
Yeah.
All right, we have a lot more to talk about, but we have to end because we're out of time.
Yeah, we're out of time. All right, folks, you want to hit it? I don't know how to do it. You do it.
All right, click all the things.
Click all the things. Subscribe.
We love you and stuff.
I'll flick your nipples.